We are live. Jon
Oh,
Dasilva. Zoom
we're
to
live.
Facebook Live. The new world. The new order.
Nice to see you virtually.
Hey, look, now, good to speak to you. And I'm glad you stepped up. You literally launched our Club Shield Records Tracks from the Unexpected, all right? So
Yeah.
you're there, right at the front. So look,
Right,
how's things
right.
been then? How's things been recently?
Well, I haven't. I mean, I've got to say, I quite enjoyed it for the first few weeks. I mean, how long has it been now? 100 days? I don't know. Anyway, I'm now losing my mind. I just want to be in control of my own destiny. And I'm not at the moment. You know, I want to be out earning money, as it were. You know, as you normally did, and I want to be out gigging because I just miss DJing. I've done a few charity streams with Hacienda, which were really, really good fun.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make up for, like, you know, the real getting down and dirty as in a club, as it were. You know, so can't wait to be out again.
Yeah, I mean, as we talk now, we're probably literally a couple of minutes away from the government announcing that pubs can open and restaurants on the 4th of July, but not you guys, unless you want to go and do your local dog and duck, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So there's me. Can't see that pain here. But I mean, I'm open to any offers.
Hey, look, that Hacienda stuff, those live streams then. So, did you enjoy doing that sort of stuff? Is it just an opportunity to share your music?
Yeah, but to be honest, the first one I was like a little bit. I don't know. I wasn't expecting. You know, when I got to the secret venue, which is in Burnley Town Centre, no, Bury Town Centre, it all suddenly I realised just how serious this was. This was it was like Cape Canaveral. It was like NASA the setup. So and it was so beautifully done. I mean, the visuals and everything else. So it was a step, certainly a step above most of the things I'd seen in terms of streaming. I absolutely buzzed on it. I mean, to be honest, I worked out a set and then all of a sudden I had to play longer. And so it went off into the wilds of electro. It was great. So, you know, the second one, they actually put me top of the bill, as it were, in terms of the night. So that was really nice and really worked that one. I really, you know, it's just great for it. It's weird, obviously, because you haven't got anybody in front of you. On the second one, I had my girlfriend down the front, but she could, you know, there's no steer in the dark, you know. But it is really strange playing to nobody, and it's, you know, without any kind of. I mean, I had a beer on the second one, but I'm driving that night, so I actually only had the one beer, you know.
So only one pair of knickers were thrown at you that night, then, yeah.
Sorry.
Only one pair of knickers were thrown at you that night.
Not exactly, only one. Well, yeah.
We've sort of the washing out. Hey, look, so Jon, I mean, out of interest then, do you think this will continue in some form in the new sort of world? People will take advantage of or take opportunity of streaming? What do you think?
Certainly, it's been going on for a while before. I mean, I've done stuff before in Barcelona similar to this, and there's a few people who've been doing it for quite a while. I mean, obviously, it's brought people's attention to it. It doesn't replace the real thing, and you know, in terms of the industry, I can't see. You know, it's going to be monetized in any shape or form. So that you know, I mean, a pay-per-view situation, I don't think people are going to up for it, to be honest. But we need to get back to clubbing, and I am scared. Yeah, it's not going to happen until next year. Till we've got an actual vaccine for the damn thing. You know, so and I've discussed it with. I mean, I've just done an interview with Joshua Doherty from Isle of Acid for Faith magazine, Faith fanzine. And we discussed that what's the scene going to be like when we come back? You know, I mean, it's you know, in terms of international DJing, forget it. You know, there's not going to be that kind of touring anymore. The venues, you know, so many of them aren't going to be able to manage to you know it. So I don't know. The scene's going to contract, I think, and you know, as long as you're willing to go with that and willing to actually take the cut in salary, as it were, in your money, then fine. You know, it's going back to basics. It's going back to, you know, it's 88 in a way.
Interesting. And I'm glad you gave a shout out to the Faith magazine that relaunches, I do believe, in August, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the Oscar in the first edition. We're very proud of that. You know, so it was supposed to be a conversation with Joshua Doherty, but basically it was a monologue from him, because he's a very intelligent and knowledgeable guy on the scene, and you know, one of those the new guys coming through, and all hail him, you know.
Yeah, hey, look, wonderful. Hey, look, so we were just talking before we went live, because I was shocked and surprised at your age. I really was. But look,
76. 56, yes.
And I was also shocked and surprised that in your tracks of the unexpected, there wasn't a track by the Nolans, but we'll come to that in a minute. So look, what's the first track then that people wouldn't expect to find in your record collection, John?
It's
And
actually a
why?
record that I inherited from my father, and as it was Father's Day, I mean, my father died when I was 12. He was a nuclear scientist, and he actually died of cancer related to his job. And he used to travel a lot with, you know, he'd go and visit Germany and Sweden and various, you know, because he was an expert on this, that, and the other in terms of what's called reactors, that kind of thing. And he also bring records back. And most of them were gifts from, you know, Germans. So it'd be like some very, very intense classical music, which I don't, you know, I'm sure he would play, but only when he felt it was the right thing to do. And one of his favorite albums was Herb Alpert's This Guy's in Love with You, and that just reminds me of my dad so much. It's a gorgeous, it's kind of a Bacharach-y vibe to it.
Yeah.
It's got those lovely Thunder Roads in it, and it's one of those. It brings a tear to my eye whenever I play it, because it's got that. You know, my memory of my father is a really very loving man. To most of the people, he was a very austere and scary guy, but to me, it was a lovely, lovely person. So it just brings back those summer memories of the summer in Preston where I grew up in the back garden, and that wafting through the windows, as it were. So yeah,
I think that's a track, you know, probably from the 60s, mid 60s or something like that, maybe early, I don't know, but
I think they hit it like in the early 70s, I think, possibly. I mean, it was certainly something that was on the radio, I think. But anyway, yes, it's around that time, yeah.
But it's one of those songs that if people don't know the title, but they know the artist mostly, but they'll know the song. They will do. You know what I mean? There'll be a reference there somewhere along the line, you know, especially those kids that grew up in the 70s. But hey, wonderful. So that's the context. What's the next one then? Track number 2, John. What have you got?
Squitty Politti and PAs. It's off their first DIY single, as it were. I mean, it was the time 78. Yeah, 78. And I was, you know, grabbed by punk, but more interested by new wave, and they're one of the many UK bands that I would buy mail order from Rough Trade in London, you know. And it's a track that keeps coming to mind because, in many ways, because of the political situation at the moment, because of Black Lives Matter and the shift towards the right. And the lyrics are quite. I mean, it was written in '78, and it was in many ways talking about the right rising in Germany. But it's so prescient now. You know, I'm absolutely exhausted by social media and the kind of shite that's coming out from Twitter and Facebook, the racism. It's just, you know. It's a really scratchy kind of new wave version of Squiddy Plitty. It's not the gorgeous, lush later version of them, you know.
Well, that's it, because I mean, what comes to my mind with Squitty Politti is probably the mid '80s. You know, that kind of stuff when they seem to be on
and the sort of Aretha Franklin vibe. Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean I was a fan of theirs from get go, from the very first single, so kind of followed them all the way through, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you know any of those guys? Because if my memory serves, they were a northern band, weren't they? When they from up north?
Yeah, they met. I think they met at art school in Leeds, I think. So they actually formed in Leeds, but decamped to Camden in '79. So essentially, I mean, I didn't actually know they met in Leeds. I mean, Green, the main songwriter, is from Wales, from South Wales. I think that's where he lives now. But so they're not. Yeah, I mean, the northern bands that I was particularly into were like Joy Division and The Fall. I used to follow them around, you know. I was 15, 16, and I'd, you know, blag my mum to let me go out, and I'd have to sleep on stations and stuff, you know, to get back. Sleep on the station, get the first train back, you know. So them were days.
So, John, you mentioned the kind of the sort of the Manchester connection there. So, where did that introduce itself into your life then? You know.
I mean, I'm from Preston, but Manchester was kind of was. Rather than Liverpool, which was sort of, I'm kind of midway. Preston's kind of midway distance-wise between the two. But Manchester was, my family's from around Manchester anyway, so we would actually, you know, go through Manchester a lot. And it's where I got drawn to Manchester more than Liverpool. And it's mainly, I guess, because of Factory Records and the whole vibe of the city at the time, you know. I mean, when I finished uni and all that business, and was intent on setting up a club, I was originally trying to do something like in Preston, then realised it wasn't the place to do it at the time, and then ended up in Manchester in late '87, early '88, and by July I had a job at Hacienda doing hot nights, so it was the right thing to do. But I never did get to set up my own club, so.
Do you look back fondly on that period of time where the Hacienda was all sort of happening for you and those guys?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, everything around it at the time, friends, girlfriends, the whole period, it's just, I was always skint, but it didn't matter then. You spent all your money on records and, it was great. They were just great times. Yeah, really great times. Just lovely.
And more hair.
No, I didn't really, no. I had a hat to disguise the fact that I was losing it. So I started losing my hair when I was 19, for goodness sake.
I love it.
At 22, so.
Right, wonderful. Right, track number 3 then of your treks on the unexpected. What have you got in the bag now?
I've got it, yeah. It's another one from that similar period to Squilly Politti, and it's Topping Gristle and United, which is possibly the most commercially, or the most, let's say, easy listening of their oeuvre, as it were. And it's some way. I mean, for me, it's electronic. It's very electronic. It's in a similar vein to the Cabs, Cabaret Voltaire, and the Normal. Dave Miller's The Normal, and it really inspired me at the time. I mean, I was a huge Kraftwerk fan from quite an early age. It's quite an early age. What I was saying, about 15. So
yeah,
I loved. It kind of it's not proto acid house, but it's got that. I love the strictness of the rhythm. I love the feel of it. I used to actually write to Genesis Peorage, strangely enough. I don't know what I wrote. I've got the letters somewhere. I don't know where they've gone, but I mean, I've got the letters, and his answers were so incredible. I can't remember what I actually asked him because there wasn't included in the letter. But he was a very strange guy and a very interesting guy. I met him a few times, and he was one of the first guys to do an acid house tune in the UK.
Right. Okay.
Back in TV.
Where were they from?
They're from North London. They had a base in just near where I used to live in London. Hornsey Rise, around there, Crouch End.
Ah.
I lived at Hornsey Rise for a year, I think, but before I moved when I was about 19. So they were kind of local to me. I never knew them then, but they were kind of scary. You didn't really want to sort of knock on the door.
I love that then. Throbbing Gristle, United. It was, and you said that's about 1978, 79, did you say?
Again, 78, 79, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm so far, I've only got as far as 79. So, and then yeah, go on.
So what's next then? Because I believe there's a bit of a leap in decades for the next one.
The leap in decades, simply because, and both of them are actually related to my children, because IMDb is one of my daughter's favourite artists. She's a grime DJ, my daughter Maya, and I, when I was coming back to England from Sweden, she'd pick me up from the airport, and and I'd be driven around by her all the time in a little convertible bloody Beetle, and it'd be like pumping out grime, and one of the artists that I really, really picked up on was IMDb, who's also Manchester. She's from Moss Side, same as my daughter. Right. And same my daughter's mixed race, and she very much relates herself, I think, personally to the kind of the music of the black side of her family, as it were, rather than and so it's one of those tunes, one of the artists that I'm really, I'm grateful to the new generation to teach me about, it's bringing new stuff into me. I know there's a lot of antithesis and a lot of sort of dislike for grime. I actually see so much of a house and acid house in that scene. It's very DIY, very bedroom. It's got those particular beats, and when it's good, it's very, very, very good.
Right.
But it's very bad. But there we go.
You might take a bit more converting for one or two people. So
yeah, I know, and that's the reason why I actually put it in there, because I think as I say, it's great that my kids are educating me. I mean, my son, who's 15, he's still in Sweden, is hoping moving over here soon. He came through and was very much influenced by all that kind of post-punk thing that I was into. So, but he went into it deeper in many ways than with certain bands than I did. So he loves Richard Hellman, Voidoids, and Television, and they got into krautrock with Can.
Yeah, brilliant.
All things that I knew instantly. And he was like, "How do you know?" Well, because I bought it when it came out, you know. And he's now shifted straight. He's moved right over to left field hip hop, you know. So the next one is the JPEG Mafia and Grammy Waifu, which is off the last album. Which he was just, Dad, you got to listen to this. Go listen to this whole album. Listen to this. You know, I get that virtually every day from him on WhatsApp. Just listen to this. Listen to this. And it's just, and the whole album's amazing. But it's just a beautiful, crazy collage. It's taken hip hop in a different direction in so many ways, and I love that. You know, the kind of the collage nature of the album. It's completely done by the artist himself on his own in his bedroom, or his bedroom in his studio. So there's nobody else involved. So it's a real personal statement.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Right, that's good. And JPEG Mafia, I like that. You know what I mean? I like that as a title. That's a good idea.
That's the name of the artist. Yeah. And the track's called Grimy Waifu.
Right. Okay. Right, JPEG. Yeah, I like that, and nice and contemporary. And what we do then in these tracks unexpected, because we'll link it to the Club Chill Records, John. Yeah. You know, it's kind of put out there in terms of a chilled track, which I know is could be anything. What have you got today then? What comes to mind, or as a favourite for chilled track?
Yeah, it's a record that I when it came out on Gherkin Records, I just played both sides constantly. It's a Larry Heard track, Monday Oliver on vocals, called "Stay Closer," isn't it? Is it "Stay Closer"? "Stay Closer," yeah. And it's got these chords actually that are reminiscent of Joy Division off the Closer album, strangely enough. And it's got it's an unusual melodic structure to it that doesn't sound, anyway, it just, as I say, it struck me as being, you know, I'm not suggesting that Larry Heard ripped Joy Division off, but it's one of those records, and it's very jazzy. There's a lot of soloing going on, but it's not noodly. It's just, and it's obsessive. It's got this beautiful obsessive salsa beat to it that I just absolutely love.
I mean, you mentioned, you know, someone like Larry Heard, of course, all that Fingers Inc. stuff, you know. I mean, there was they made some great tracks, didn't they, around the 88, 89 period.
Because any of those as well, you see, I mean, that came to mind straight away, because huge fan. I met him in Chicago back in 89. He actually came down to, I think it was, what's the record shop called? But Derek Carter was on the till.
All right.
And he obviously got on the phone and he rang a couple of people, and because he said, Mike Picker and Jon Dasilva here. And the next thing you know, I'm looking from digging, you know, and there's little diminutive Larry Heard stood opposite me, like, you know. So that was fantastic, you know.
Absolutely fantastic. And brilliant. So John, look, thanks for that. So what's happening then? What's coming next then? You know, it's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, obviously no bookings.
I'm working in the studio. Well, you can't see my studio. I'm in the studio now. I've got a little setup at the back of the house. I've got a lot of things in the pipeline, but some of them are going to be strictly under pseudonyms, because it's got a different direction from what people know me by. You know, it's very hard to be taken seriously with some music in a way, because they all assume Jon Dasilva's this or Jon Dasilva's that. Yeah. So I've gone back to using nom de plumes or pseudonyms for the few tracks, and they're already signed, I think. Got to finish a few of them, but there's going to be a few EPs coming out in the next few months.
Brilliant. Okay, so from the positives of it, have you found it, an allowing of a creative time to literally sit in front of the, do the music, do the tracks?
Do you know? I think once the kids, I've got two step kids here, and my partner, she's off work. Obviously, she starts a PGCE in September. When they've all gone back to school, and I've got the house to myself. Yeah. Then there'll be more productivity. I'm literally either helping homeschooling, or I'm doing this, that, and the other. And it's very hard to actually get any peace when there's another three people in the house, So I'm enjoying the family time,
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm getting some stuff done, but not as much as I know other people are. I know that.
Yeah. I think the latter part of this year there's going to be firing tracks all over the place.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing. It puts a lot of armouring in your ammunition for next year, doesn't it? Absolutely, when you guys are back out.
Yeah.
Jon Dasilva, good to see you, mate. Always. Absolutely appreciate you doing this and helping us launch this. And I'm going to be reloading it tomorrow with perhaps one or two of the tracks you've mentioned there, just to get a bit of a reload and push it around a bit more. But really good to speak to you, mate.
Thank you, mate. All right, take care.
Take care now. Thanks ever so much. Goodbye, everyone. See you, John. Bye.